People, you're gonna make a mistake. In fact, it's a classic mistake. Hey, this is Christophe Clugston, the Jedi Dog Master, along with Bandit, and I'm gonna explain something and hopefully cure a problem for you, because you're bound to make a mistake. So even if you say it's not your first dog, it's your dog number 2, 3, 4, 5, you're gonna make a mistake, especially if any of these are part of what's happening with your new dog. You've changed in size and weight of the dog. For example, you went from a Chihuahua to St. Bernard. You're going to make a mistake. 2, you've changed the tempo style of the dog. For example, an Old English Bulldog compared to a Malinois. Totally different. Malinois is totally different tempo. You're not going to be prepared for one to the other. If you're used to one, you're not used to the other, unless I'll get to it. And 3, you've changed the breed design. For example, the difference between a toy dog and a sport or working dog. If the dog comes from the toy class, like a miniature poodle, and that's what you're used to, you're not going to be ready for a Brittany Spaniel or a Pointer or a German Short-haired Pointer. It's just a Weimaraner, a Vizsla. You're not going to be prepared for that type of dog. Now, a lot of people say, okay, yeah, well, I'm going to have the same exact type of dog that I had before. Okay, but they fail to consider that this is another area where they can make a big mistake. And that's a change in the family living dynamics. For example, you went from a ranch, living on a ranch, to an apartment, to living in the city. This is very common. This is what happened a lot back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Or people say, well, no, I'm living in the same place that I lived before, the same situation. I've always rented an apartment. Okay, but you were single before, now you're married and you have small children. Big red flags, going to shoot up a lot of red flags as a professional trainer for 50 years. And I got to tell you, here's some facts that you need to hear. You're not going to like it. A lot of people get upset. They're like, oh, what are you doing? What are you telling me? You know, oh, I get emotionally damaged by you saying these harsh facts. Well, you need to hear them, and I don't care. Also, by the way, I'm running B-roll because a lot of people are lazy and they don't have the research ability to even watch some of my other videos. They know nothing. What they make comments without even watching the entire video or looking at other videos. Their zero research ability is a fault. Talk to you sub-mills, especially sub-mills. But here's a fact. You're not a cynologist. If you don't know what the term means, you're definitely not a cynologist. And I can give you some working definitions here. For example, you have not had 50 dogs in your lifetime. And I mean you had 50 dogs. I don't mean you've seen 50 dogs or you went to some shelter and played with 50 dogs. No, I mean you had 50 dogs. You have to have direct experience, operational experience with that. Or another thing that's very telling, have you had 5 dogs at the same time? And if you had 5 or more dogs at the same time for a while, I don't mean for one day, but if you've had more than 5 dogs, you've learned something very crucial and that will apply here. And I will tell you that if you haven't had these multivariate types of dogs, then you're gonna make a mistake when you get your second or third dog, guaranteed. For example, 5 dogs that are multivariate, very different. Now, if you're a person who has a Doberman, an Australian cattle dog, a Brittany Spaniel, a Jack Russell Terrier, and a Malinois, I'd say you probably know what I'm going to get to here. So you've got to keep something in check, which you're probably not even, you probably don't know about it. And that is, you cannot project your expectations from the past. And what is that really? Well, that's arrogance. It's arrogance. So you had a golden retriever or a border collie or a German shepherd before, and you could go off leash with them. You didn't invest a lot of time, and you can You were able to walk around with them off leash in parks, for example. Don't think that's going to happen with a Borzo, a Whippet, a Greyhound, a Galgo, Mini, all the Sighthounds. Different thing, and I'll get to this now. But you cannot think that, oh, you're superior because you've worked with easy to train dogs, which is the next thing I'll get to. You've had easy to train dogs. People have gone from golden retrievers, border collies, German shepherds, and they look at other people and they're like, oh, well, this person can't train their dog, they don't have any control. When that person is working with a Chow Chow, an Akita, American Bulldog. That's, for example, why I show that I can do what no one else can do with a 110-pound autistic American Bulldog with no tail. No tail. That's also another thing I failed to mention in the past. Matriarch, thanks for reminding me about that. And if you haven't been around those types of dogs and you switch from the easy to train, it's not gonna be so easy. So this is the thing, you cannot project your expectations. And you might think theoretically that, yeah, every dog is different and unique. But what does that really mean? You're just parroting phrases when you say that. So in reality, what will you change? That's right. Do you have a different method for your new dog compared to your prior dog? And I'm gonna get you right here. I'm gonna give you a free consult right now. So, number one, can you write down what you did with your prior dog? Can you? Well, do it. And then, can you write down what you'll do with your new dog, the protocol? And getting into more details, do you have a clearly defined goal for the new dog? What will the dog do? Is he a livestock guarding dog? Is he going to be a sport obedience dog, a trick dog, a companion dog? And I'll get to that in a minute about the companion dog. So you've got to be able to write it down. Write it down. If you can't write it down, you already got problems. So I want you to also write down, what does companion dog mean to you? Make a list, an exact list. Because if you can't write it, you can't make it happen. Now listen to that again. If you can't write it, you can't make it happen. And this is exactly what I do. This is what I've done for 50 years. The reason why I'm successful and can do things that other people cannot do, these are just facts, people, is because I have structure, sequences, goals, and methods that other people are not utilizing all the time. The best trainers will. Now, I can help you out with this beyond this video through consults or in-person training. It just comes down to how dedicated are you? How dedicated to your dog are you? Something else that you should write. What are you willing to do for your dog to have the type of dog that you want? Because remember now, hazy ideas beget hazy goals, and that leads to no real results. So again, hazy ideas produce hazy goals, and that doesn't produce results. Does not. So the classic mistake is projecting your prior experience into your future experience. And I can use a lot of experiences for people, and they're used to living in one city or one state or one country, and then they're going to project that, think that's how it's going to be in another city, state, or country. It's not going to be that way. And if you're not flexible and you don't have a plan, you're going to fail. So this arrogance can lead and can cascade to a huge amount of problems. So imagine, for example, you want to build something, but you don't have a plan, you don't have a blueprint, you don't even have a purpose for the structure that you're going to construct, that you're going to build. Is it going to be a house? Is it going to be a barn? Is it going to be a storage unit? Is it going to be a hotel? Is it going to be a castle? Is it going to be a ski chalet? There's vast differences in how you will construct a ski chalet compared to a castle. There's also huge differences in the materials you will use, the methods you will use, the tools that you will use. Pay attention there, people. The tools that you use are also very important to what you're trying to produce. Now again, I will reiterate this. What is it that you want to do? If you can't write it, you can't make it happen. Listen to me. If you can't ride it, you can't make it happen. So, again, Christophe Clugston, the Unmatched Jedi Dog Master, giving you some incredibly important advice that you might find harsh. I don't care. If your emotions get crushed, I don't care. I care about the dogs and the results.